This is season number 19 of Bass Talk Live with Matt Pengrack. BTL is presented by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, Aftco, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Pro Guide Batteries, Beatdown Outdoors, Shoreline Boat and RV Repair, and Omnia Fishing. Hit him with the hook, Jeffries.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Fast Talk Live. And yes, it's a new studio. I believe everything is functioning properly, correctly. Everything is plugged in live from Shawnee, Oklahoma. It is January 9th, and we are kicking off season number 19 of BTL. It's hard to believe if you said, 2 years ago from where we were to where we are now that I'd take over the show, still have it around, and then have my own studio in the house. Our guest today knows all about having studios in the house. That is none other than Elite Series Pro Mike Iaconelli. And I thought he'd be a good guest to have on the first show for the year. Ike has been a supporter of BTL and with his Ike Live brand and all sorts of things that he has going on. But it's even more appropriate because there's been rumblings across the Bassmaster grassroots that there's some changes on the way in the Bass Nation. And Ike is the only angler who has everything you can win. Like, there was no high school or juniors or college fishing when he was around, but everything you can win on the Bassmaster side, Mike Iaconelli has won, including, I believe it was the 1999 Bassmaster Federation Nation National Championship. It's changed names a bunch of times, but we're going to talk to Ike about that. We have a bunch of stuff going on in the new year. We will get to that in the second half of the show. New sponsors, new clothing, new opportunities, new ways that we're going live, new shows, new locations for shows, all sorts of new stuff going on. But let's bring the man, the myth, and the legend in. Ike, thanks for jumping on the first BTL from the new studio in Shawnee.
Hell yeah. Thanks for having me, man. That means a lot. You hit it right on the head. I've been a supporter of your show forever. I love you and Mark. You guys have been doing things in the sport that they need to be done. So thank you for having me, man. It's awesome to be on.
I did not realize that Becky was currently out of town. And like I said, I'm in the new studio here. So that I immediately, my anxiety went through the roof when I was like, it's just me and Ike running the show here.
Hey, we figured it out. Listen to me. If a 50-year-old man can figure out forward-facing sonar, I could figure this shit out. You know what I mean?
Dude, it's hard to believe that you're 50. Like, I heard that, I saw that before, and I was like, how the heck did Ike become a 50-year-old guy? I'm the same way. Like, I'm pushing 40 now, Ike.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, when I look at you, you're still the 20-year-old male model that you'll always be in my eyes. But, the funny thing is, it's like, you hit it right on the head. I don't feel 50. I look in the mirror now and yeah, I got gray and I'm got wrinkles and I got a bald spot. Yeah, I'm 50 straight up. I hurt in the morning when I get out of bed. I'm 50 straight up. But like, I went fishing yesterday for an hour before it got dark with Vegas, and we were catching yellow perch and pickerel on forward facing sonar. Dude, we were giggling. I was laughing. We were screaming. I felt like I was, he's 12. I felt like I was 15 with him. So mentally, I don't feel old, but yeah, the years have gone past. You can't stop it,
You've mentioned that twice. Do you want to dive into that? I mean, dude, you have mentioned. Have you done anything on that? I haven't really seen anything that you've done on that yet.
What's that?
Your thoughts on the forward-facing sonar and the revolution. You're old school, dude. I mean, when you were getting into this.
Yeah. I am. I'll get into it. I haven't really publicly ever said it. We tease about it a lot on Ike Live, but my honest opinion is I embrace the technology, man. I know who I am, and I know I'll never be, the guys that are super proficient with it. And, it's a young guy's tool. It really is.
Why?
Well, I think a lot of it has with how I'm going to get deep with you here. And
Okay.
this is going to sound strange because
No.
I'm one of the dumbest guys you'll ever meet. So, but I'm going to try to get deep with you. So, I fished at a tournament this summer. We have around the house here, we call them Thursday nighters. So everybody has those weekday tournaments, and we call it the Thursday nighters. We call it the beer league, but Vegas fishes them with me, and we fished a really deep impoundment, a sand quarry. And it was one of the first times Vegas got to experience and use active target, Lowrance's active target.
Right.
Matt, he picked up on it so quick. We won the tournament. He caught the only 2 keepers in our boat. He caught a 5 and almost a 3 on active target, dropping on their heads. I didn't even know what I was looking at. He knew what he was looking at. And the best way I can describe it is, here's a kid that's never used it, picks it up in 30 minutes. But he has spent his life in the digital world, right? And he can understand not just digital imagery, but digital space. And that's an interesting thing. And I started like figuring this out as I'm watching him, but he knows the relationship, between that image digitally, what he's looking at and how far away it is exactly. Like being able to get his drop shot, land on the fish. I think that, if you come up through your schooling and you are more familiar with digital technology, you understand digital imagery and digital space. And I don't have that. And I don't know that, all the practice in the world, I don't think I can grasp it like he can, or like Lucas or a Wheeler or a younger person, or all these college and high school kids that are coming up. So, but getting back to the original question, I embrace it. Listen, I love Randy Blockett. I love Randy.
You watch his videos too?
Yeah, I love Randy.
Really?
Some of his stuff is the best stuff in the world. I love it.
He has the industry's attention.
Oh yeah. Whether you agree with him or not, it's great because he's honest. And I love that. But anyway, I don't hate it. I embrace it. But I am self-admittedly no good at it. Not yet. I'm not great at it. And, but I don't think it's the devil. I don't think it's the Antichrist. I don't think it's Illuminati. I don't think it's, the God particle. I don't think it's any of that. I just think it's a technology,
Yeah. That's interesting that you think that, I guess, developing brains it's something that you're growing up with, and that you're more open to molding and changing with. And that, so you're basically saying you'll never see an old guy who's a guru at this stuff, because there's so many things ingrained in him and his learning capacity with the development of the brain. It's like, hey, I've learned what I'm going to learn. I can get good with it, but I'll never be an all-star.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said about that. Now, There's a million factors.
Yeah.
I'm saying the average dude, like me, the average dumb dude that's 50, I don't think will ever grasp it the way that these younger anglers are grasping it.
Okay,
Steve Kennedy's an anomaly because he's just the ultra smart guy. So
yeah,
he will. But everybody.
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you this then: Is this a cyclical thing? When you were making your run, so let's name it a handful. Like you, what year you came in like what the early
late
2000s, late 90s, early 2000s.
Yes.
So you're talking like Edwin Evers, you, Tim Horton. I mean that whole group, Skeet.
Yeah.
Kevin had been around for a couple years, but Kevin's even in that group, I would put.
Yeah.
Did you guys, I don't want to use the term push out, but did you guys challenge the Nixon's not a good example because he's a freak show. But like the Woo Daves and the Larry Nixons and the Ken Cooks back then, where they were going, these dang young kids and their ability to use GPS mapping and when side imaging and dropping on fish on 2D and, my triangulation doesn't matter anymore that I spent 30 years to. Is this the exact same thing that is happening? It's just a rebranding and rebirth of it with the forward facing sonar.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And it's going to continue to happen. I mean, it's just a changing of the guard. And, you know, I think what happens is, you know, as times change and technology changes and things change, you know, there is a changing of the guard. And it doesn't mean that the older guard, the newer guard, the future guard, nobody's any better. Yeah. They're just embracing their now. And, you know, so, you know, the hot anglers of the 70s and 80s, they're just as good as the good young guys now. It's just a different realm, you know. But I think for me, yeah, when I came up at the perfect time for me, which was I was able to embrace some of the early advancement in sonar. So I wasn't one of the guys holding on to a flasher, and they're still out there. I wasn't one of those guys. I was embracing 2D and side imaging and GPS technology. I was embracing it, but I also had the ability to fish. And it's all like, if you put me in any other era, I don't think I would have done as well, because I had this ability to fish and find fish by fishing. And, and, you know, just like, you know, dark to dark days and throwing a crankbait until you find the fish. And I was able to feel around with the bait. I got really good at that. And I think that era was really good at that. And so, you know, you take away that now, you know, I wouldn't have been as good now. So,
oh my gosh, I just realized it. Okay. This is all coming together. All right. Your average wins. Now, some of these are 3-dayers, right? You throw in an open or a classic, but like you don't have pretty wins. Does that make sense?
I don't.
You've got ugly wins. Like you're talking about grinders, river fisheries, the whole fish the moment thing, but 44 pounds, 47, 48, 28, 37, 55. Your biggest win is on in 2006 on Gunnersville, and it's like the lowest winning weight ever on Gunnersville for 4 days was 71 pounds. Here's where I'm going with this, Ike.
Yeah.
I just experienced this on Sam Rayburn in the open. Fall transition, bait out everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Grinders tournament, right? Yeah. Forward-facing sonar was massive in that. That really has to hurt the grinders.
Well, I think everybody has their style. And, you know, if you look at my track record in events that are, you know, tougher events, I do excel. So, you know, the year that I won Angler of the Year, you're a history buff. You can go back and look, but I think we had 11 back then. I don't think it was technically the elites. Maybe it was the elites back then. We had 11 events that would span from late winter to late fall. So I got a chance to have winter type tournaments, which generally suck. I had a chance to fish fall type tournaments, which generally suck. Heat of the summer tournaments, when the classic was in August, July and August. That's when I won my classic. It sucked. Yeah. So, you know, but again, that's just my style, and it fits who I am. And, you know, I'm okay with that. You know, I'm okay with being just, you know, I'm a marginal, hardworking angler, you know, that I do better in tough tournaments. And I also think real quick, just to give shout out to New Jersey and South Jersey, maybe even the entire Northeast. It's not very good up here. Like you take away upstate New York, look at the rest of the
Chesapeake has its moments, doesn't it?
Chesapeake has its moments, but
as a whole,
in general, fishing Northeast is tough. And we have, you know, look at our population base. You know, we have Boston, Hartford, New York City, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Washington. Do we have all that within a couple hundred miles of each other? There are millions of people. You know, it's fishing pressures.
Yeah.
You know, it's tough. It stinks up here, you know.
What's your worst towing a boat through that stuff traffic story? Have you ever just gotten in a real pickle? Because I just remember driving like to your house and stuff. Like it was not enjoyable. And that's every day just getting to the lake, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, the highways up here, when you're on the major thoroughfares, it's always a nightmare. Work hours, especially. So, you know, that 6 to 9 a.m., you know, 3 to 5 p.m., anytime you're on a highway near a major city, you're screwed. But I probably my most unbelievable experience ever is we did early days of Ike Foundation. In fact, year 1 of Ike Foundation, we did an event in New York City in Central Park. And I had to tow my truck and boat, into the city to park the rig at Central Park. It was one of the most unbelievably white-knuckled, scary, nerve-wracking experiences. And, New Yorkers, they drive different, man. They just drive different. And there's middle fingers and horns and FUs every 5 minutes. So it's been some crazy driving times over the years for sure, living in this part of the world,
To put a bow on the whole forward-facing sonar and technology stuff, you just got your boat rigged this year, didn't you?
I did. I got it rigged this year. And, one of the things that I think I was hurting, one of the things that was hurting me is not the fact that I didn't have the technology, but the fact that the technology wasn't installed and totally dialed in 100%. So
maximizing it. Efficiency.
Maximizing efficiency. So this year, I'm so stoked, man. I'm so freaking excited because this year I just drew a line in the sand and I said, I'm having guys that know how to rig electronics, rig my electronics this year. And so work with the Bass Tank guys this year as a lot of the pros do. And I can tell you just in a week, like I literally got my boat a week ago, just in a week's time, I can see a difference in what I'm seeing and how I'm able to interpret stuff. So, that's a big factor. I mean, the cables you run, the settings, how it's rigged to a battery, your clarity, all this stuff, which again, for a dumb 50-year-old is mind blowing. Working with those guys has been a blessing so far. And I really do hope that this year I'm able to embrace that technology more and use it to help me. I'm not saying, I'm going to go from zero to a win with that technology, but use it to help me. Maybe catch a few more fish, maybe make a check, maybe make a top 10, using active target. So I'm pretty excited.
It's not like calling you out, but I've had some conversations with Matt Looney recently from Pro Guide.
Oh, yeah.
And he says that you and I have some similar questions when it comes to batteries, that you understand what you want more, but we both have a very rudimentary and basic understanding of how everything actually works. And he was anticipating, he's probably watching now, us having a lithium battery discussion on BTL just to see if we could hold that, because to me, that's like a foreign language.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. Technology to me is fun. We said it. I could barely get on this live chat this morning.
You did great. You sound awesome.
Thank you. But yeah, so battery wise, let me tell you this, that in a 30-year career, Matt, listen to me, 30 years of fishing, I have struggled with, when we talk about equipment, the biggest thing I've struggled with is batteries and battery performance. And a lot of it falls on me. A lot of it, there might people listening, watching right now say, why? A lot of it falls on me because I am abusive, borderline abusive. I am abusive with how I treat batteries, and just the way that I fish, the hours, the limited charging time, where I'm going with the boat. I'm very brutal on batteries, and so, man, the lithium technology and being able to hook up with the guys from Pro Guide, it's been so awesome for me, because finally, after 30 years, last year and then starting again this year, I feel like I'm finally getting my hands wrapped around what I need to be able to go no matter what. And that's a big thing for me, right? A big thing for me is, I don't fish once a month. I don't recreationally fish. I don't, guide fish leisurely. I am brutal on these things, and I need a system in place that no matter what happens, I'll have a battery to get me through the day. And honestly, I can tell you that with lithium technology, with what I've created with Pro Guide, I finally have that after 30 years. I'm so stoked about it, man. So stoked.
I mean, the rumor is that you have like multiple cutoff switches and like 5 or 6 different batteries, and that you could probably go like 2 weeks without charging, and then the stuff that recharges. Listen, it was in Oklahoma here, so I've heard rumors of this build. Yeah, and you have how many back there? 6 or 5?
I have 6 batteries. So, now but listen to me,
okay.
For a lot of people, this is overkill. And again, I'm not.
Yeah. No, you're Iaconelli. This is your job. This is what you do for a living, Mike.
And here's the thing. I'm not, this is just what works for me.
Yeah.
Abusive fishing nonstop. This is what works for me. I'm not advocating everyone has to have 6 lithium batteries, but the great thing about the lithium technology, 2 of the things I love is the weight and the charge back time, right? So we've got 2 big things in our advantage. So with 6 ProGuide lithium batteries today in my boat, I am a few hundred pounds lighter than when I was running 4 or 5 AGM batteries. Okay. So man, I am a few hundred pounds lighter. I have a quicker charge back, but here's my system in a whole. I wanted a system that I had dedicated lithium batteries for my trolling motor, dedicated lithium batteries for my electronics and cranking. But I also wanted 1 reserve battery for each on a switch. And, that is for the what if. Man, you never know. Matt, you know better than anybody. You're a gypsy. You're a gypsy too. Yeah. You're traveling. You get to a hotel. The power goes out. You're snoozing. You never get a charge. A limb falls on your external battery charger as it's sitting in the parking lot and breaks that. It doesn't get a charge. Whatever. Stuff happens, and with this system I created using switches, using Perco switches, I've got a backup battery for my trolling motor, 36 volt, and a backup battery for my electronics at all time. If something happens, boom, I switch it. I'm still in the game. Very important for me.
That's good stuff, Ike.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to take our first break of the 2023 season. Actually got a couple new commercials in. I'm excited. This stuff is going to continue to navigate and change. When we come back, I tease a little bit in the open. I want to get into the Bass Nation, the Federation Nation. I know this is something that's very near and dear to your heart. The Federation, the Bass Nation presidents. I mean, I think there's some changes coming down the road. Yeah. I want you to put on your ideal scenario hat. Where does the Bass Nation fall? Where do the grassroots guys fall? And if it was up to you, and this will give you a couple minutes to think about it, what is the perfect system for those grassroots guys to determine the top grassroots guys in the country? And then what should their reward be? Should there be classic spots? Should there be Elite Series spots? How hard and difficult should it be? How prestigious? How can they grow this thing? Because let's face it, Ike, right now they're getting their butts kicked by the BFLs and the Toyota Series, but mainly that BFL. That is a massive chunk of anglers that could and should be competing at that Bass Nation level. That's my soapbox. I'm going to give you time to think about it. BTL on a Monday, new studio, Shawnee, Oklahoma, with Mike Iaconelli. We will be back right after this.
Introducing HDS Pro. Watch fish reacting to your lure live with Active Target 2. Get game-changing clarity in the megahertz range with the new Active Imaging HD sonar. Find the richest fishing spots with CMAP's charts. Take full control of your boat with the ultimate fishing system. HDS Pro. The more you see, the more you catch.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
Hey guys, Gerald Swindle representing the AFCO Hydronaut. This is the jacket I love wearing when times is tough, and I'm talking about the weather, not the fishing. The jacket, what I like, I got a double cup right here. I can seal up the bottom of my jacket because when you're fishing, you're holding your arms up. You're bad about getting water, it runs downhill. Everything bends good. I'm long arm. Look, it fits very comfortable. My arms is flexible. I've got the speed hood on, pouring down rain. I can get everything zipped up. One thing they did is they made plenty of pocket space. If you ain't got enough pockets in the Hydronaut rain suit, you just got too much stuff. From the water membrane, that's 30K, baby. 30 times the reason you ain't gonna get wet. Super warm. If it's cold in the wintertime, you put on your Hydronaut, you're gonna be a much more comfortable person. If you don't want to just look sexy at Dairy Queen, wear your Hydronaut. We got it from small to 5X. Most rain gear does not come in that many sizes. You got waist adjusting straps. We can make it fit you. No matter what the environment is, we want you to be comfortable. We want you to be dry. You gotta check it out. It ain't gonna let you down.
All right. We are back live with the man, Mike Iaconelli. And before we took a break, I think I still have a commercial issue because I got a text that said we were live. We were both just looking at our phones. Yeah, it says commercials done, but they weren't done. I was talking about Pro Guide batteries and Exode lures.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'll have to figure that. Minor glitch. But before we took a break, I wanted to give you a minute to think about ideal scenario, Federation Nation, Bass Nation, grassroots.
Yeah.
What does Bass need to do to bring it back to the glory of the 90s and early 2000s before the split with the TBF? Because after that, it's never been the same.
Yeah, you hit it on the head. The glory days of the Federation of the Bass Nation, it was something really, really special. It was why I started fishing tournaments. It was my start. It was my beginning. And it had, I don't know, maybe like a pride aspect to it, just to be a part of that group. And yeah, since the split, that has definitely went away. I think there's still some of that, but it's went away. So, the biggest thing is when that group split, it split the membership in half. It split the energy in half. That needs to come back. Like I remember, when I was 19, 20, joined my first club that was affiliated with the Federation. One of the things that I couldn't wait for is they gave me this sticker, this BASS sticker. Right. And I couldn't wait to put that on the back window behind my driver's seat. What do they need to do to get that feeling back? That's a great question. I don't know all the answers, but one of the answers for sure is to not take away some of these avenues into the classic, into, an elite spot. I think they should do that. I think they should 100% do that, because I can close my eyes and vividly remember being that age and saying, a guy from New Jersey, I was DJing on the weekends. I was working at Dick's Sporting Goods, for crying out loud. I was in retail. I'm a regular dude. There's no way I'll ever make a classic. This is my only chance ever for just the regular dude to make the class. Like, that is a big thing. And, it was a big reason, besides the camaraderie and all that stuff, was a big reason that I participated, that a lot of guys participated. So I think taking away that stuff is wrong. Should they let 10 guys in the classic through the nation? No, but a few guys, 100%, an elite berth for the top guy, 100%. That stuff's got to stay. And Bass needs to make it mean something again. They need to build up that feeling of belonging to a club that is the best club in the world. That's left. And I don't know how you totally get that back,
I mean, Vegas is a couple years away from joining a club and fishing the Bass Nation. I mean, I'm assuming that you're going to let him know that route is available if it's the one that he chooses to take.
Yes. And he's been fishing it. He's been fishing the junior Bass Nation since he was 10 years old. I'm sorry, take that back. Since he was 8 years old. I think it's 8 in New Jersey. So yes, like that is important, and it has to lead to something. So like last year, Vegas qualified for the junior national championship. Went down and fished his first one, came in 9th out of like 300 kids. I mean, it was amazing. Like, they need to keep those things in place. I think if they take that stuff away, if you lose that route, you lose the interest to participate,
I thought about you a couple weeks ago when I was watching golf, Ike.
That's strange.
No, it makes sense. Obviously Tiger Woods' son, Charlie, there's all sorts of comparisons about his swing and how he acts like him. And I'm thinking of the expectations that are put on this kid, because Tiger's bigger than life.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, over the past 2 decades, you have an expected persona. You're bigger than life. You're Iaconelli. You're never give up. And here comes Vegas. So I'm saying there's expectations on Vegas to go Ike and to be Ike.
Yeah.
But I also know how involved Becky is and how involved you are. And the interesting Tiger said was, I told him to emulate Rory's swing, not my swing.
Yeah.
But you're seeing a chip off the old block. How is that with Vegas? Is there someone that if it seems like he wants to do this, like he's ate up with it, like this is his life passion, kind of like Charlie Woods. Is there someone out there that if you were to tell him, emulate this guy's style, this guy's talent, this guy's career, who would that be? Or is it you? And do you think that's more challenging for him having to grow up like that?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think there's a little bit of both things that you said. The one is, I think by default, Vegas has been fishing with me like my other kids since he literally could hold a fishing rod. His first rod was an ice fishing rod. So he's been fishing a spinning rod since he was like 2 or 3 years old. But so I think by default, he sees things fishing with me, that he'll pick up on and that he'll do. And some of the things why I watch him fishing, some of the things he's doing are definitely things that I think he's picked up from me, by being in the same boat with me. At the same time, like I love when he gets to fish with other people. So give an example, like he fishes not just the junior nation tournaments, but he fishes this new Ike Foundation youth trail that we've created. And we do a random draw with the kids and we have boat captains. And he was lucky enough last year to get paired with Greg DePalma on a deeper New Jersey lake. Well, Greg showed him things that day with Active Target with the Humminbird one that Greg's using, that he came back and just blew my mind with what he had learned. So, I think that to become an amazing fisherman, you have to be a sponge. And I want him to sponge off of as many different anglers as he can. Not even just pro anglers, but other kids, peers, other adults, right? Become a sponge. The best anglers have little pieces from everyone. So there's that. But the other part of it that I want to say is that with 4 kids, it's the one thing you learn is that they're all their own person and they all are different people. And that's like, I don't think you could even mold that. It's just, they're born with that. And Vegas has things that will never be me that makes him his own angler. A lot of it's the mental stuff. So I've got to captain him a few times in the last few years and would watch him lose fish, 3-4 pounders that I knew when they came off, that was it. Like, and I'm a boat captain. There's another kid in the boat. So I put my hood up and I like scrunch down in the bottom of the boat, and inside I'm yelling the F word as loud as I can. Inside, internally, I'm burning. Like I'm crawling in my chair, and I watch him and like literally fixes the hook on his drop shot, looks at his max scent bait, makes sure it's nice and straight, and throws back out there. Not phased one bit.
Really?
That's not me. That's not me. That's Becky. That's somebody else. That's not me. So he's his own person in the mental, in the casting. He has this casting style. I have no idea who taught it from him. He shoots from the hip. he actually casts sideways with his elbow like tucked in. And he has this cast that's the weirdest, strangest looking. It's worse than Boyd Duckett's cast. The weirdest, strangest looking cast I've ever seen in my life. But he is the most accurate kid with a spinning rod I've ever seen in my life. So that's not me. Like, who's that, right? So, I think he's a little bit of both. I think he's got his own thing going on. He's his own person. I think he's sponging a little from people he's fishing with, from YouTube videos he's watching, from Bassmaster articles he's reading. He's sponging. And then the last thing I'll say with this is Becky and I are very conscious to never push any of our kids in a direction they don't want to go in. So Vegas loves soccer. He's a soccer head just as much as fishing. He loves building robots. Dude, he's building these robots and he's doing these model planes. He's like got an engineering mind. Let him, he needs to grow up and be the kid he's going to be. He's destined to be. And we're very big advocates of that. So we'll see what happens.
Boy, you took the shot at Duckett, and then Sean chimes in and says, can't be worse than Travis Manson's two-handed casting.
I say that, I say, I don't know Travis's cast, but I say that to Boyd, not in a detrimental way, because he's like Vegas, where his cast is very ugly and unorthodox. But look, he's won classics. He's won.
As I say, he's won majors. He's won Elite Series. He's won Opens. He's won Bassmaster Classics. Boyd Duckett is seriously the most, like I mentioned that you've won on every single level. There's no one else that's won everything that Boyd Duckett has won at the bass level.
Yeah. And so I said that half kidding because
I know.
The great thing about fishing, honestly, this is one of the great things about the sport, is that you can be way more unorthodox in everything than in other sports, and like football, baseball, hockey, all those
fundamentals. You have certain fundamentals. Everyone does the same things.
You have to fit into a certain box. In fishing, the great thing about this sport is you can go outside of that box and still be one of the best in the world, A
lot of listeners with kids that are Vegas's age. Yep. I know you just talked about fundamental, but there are certain things. If you were to take three things that if you have a young kid who's really into fishing, that you feel like it's important to instill in them at an early age that will serve them for the next 60 years of their fishing career, what are those things?
Yeah. Oh man, that's such a good question. And there's way more than three things. So I'll give you probably the top three, just thinking about coaching and fishing Vegas and his peers when I'm at a tournament with other kids. The one is what I call the best way I can describe it to the kids is they have a tendency to they get in an area and they just want to keep making the same cast over and over and over again, whether they caught a fish or maybe they just love that spot. Like I find Vegas being too thorough in one spot, and I'll watch and they make the same cast over and over and over. And I'm a big advocate of teaching kids to cover the water. And the way I explain it is I tell them cut pizza. If you made a pizza pie and then you get the cutter and you make slices out of the pizza, right? I really want kids to learn that to make every cast a little different. Now, if you catch a fish, definitely make that cast again. And if you get another bite, but after a while, keep seining the area, right? Keep cutting that pizza. So that's one thing, is covering water, not getting complacent. That's definitely one. Another one is just, and this is a really hard one to teach, but it is teaching the kids that anything different has to be checked or set on. And I got lucky with Vegas because he was very good at an early age of awareness of something changing. But a lot of kids in the boat, I try to explain that if you make a cast and something feels different, even if it's not an obvious thing, that I want you to check it or just set the hook, and I can tell you that doing this as long as I've done it, 60% of the fish I catch, the bites I get, they're not even bites. They're not like toing. They're just something feels off, and learning that at an early age, I think is very important. And then the last one is probably the most important one. And this is hard coming from the mindset of a competitive angler. And if there are hardcore dads watching this, hardcore moms watching this, that you're ate up with fishing and you're competitive like me, the most important thing is those kids have to have fun. And that is hard for me, right? Because, I'm cutthroat because I'm an elite angler for 30 years. I'm cutthroat. Sometimes it's not fun but it has to be fun. And I step outside of myself whenever I'm fishing with Vegas or kids to make it fun. It's got to be fun. On days when they're not biting, make it fun. Have that fun element, because that keeps them coming back. If it's not fun, if they go out and feel like they're being yelled at, or they're worthless, or they can't catch a fish and fishing's boring, they're never coming back. Make it fun. You got to make it fun every time. If you can figure out a way to do that, they'll be hooked forever.
You good for one more segment?
Of course I am.
All right. I got some questions I've never asked that I want to ask you.
Oh,
when we get back.
I like that.
I mean, you're not obligated to answer them. You don't have to answer them if you don't want to, but I'm gonna go ahead and throw it out. I'm also gonna see if the commercials work this time.
All right, I'm gonna leave this with you as we go to commercial.
What is that?
It's an old ink bottle. Look at that.
Wait.
Full label. And that's not old. This is actually probably 1920s or 30s, but attic fine. So it came out of an attic, original top, full label, actually has some contents remaining in it. Isn't that amazing? Look at how did it last that long?
You really do collect those? That's on your Bassmaster profile.
Of course I do.
I thought that was just all BS.
They're all true, Matt. Cabbage Patch Dolls, ham radio, flute, ghost hunting. It's all
crochet?
Real. Yes, Cliff Crochet. It's all real.
We just had him on. He had all four of his kids on the screen at the same time while his wife was telling him something, and the dog, the golden doodle, showed up. It was glorious. He was the last show of 2022.
Oh, Matt, I gotta wait a minute. I gotta wait. I got 4 kids. Oh, Matt.
He's such a good dude.
He's a good dude. I love Cliff. Man.
He is a good dude. All right. BTL with Mike Iaconelli. We'll come back with the final segment right after this.
Are you looking to install your own fishing electronics? The solution is the Bass Tank Power Harness. It takes the guesswork out of installation. No more voltage issues or interference. Designed by an engineer so that you can get professional results right there in your own garage. Installation done right with the help of the Bass Tank Power Harness. You can feel confident knowing that your installation was done right. The Bass Tank Power Harness. Give us a call or order yours today at thebasstank.com.
Get the best patterns backed by tournament data. Start by finding the best 10% of your lake. Know exactly what to look for and what to throw. After that, just put them in the boat. Try the Deep Dive app today.
Look at that beast right there.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-Bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Have you considered purchasing new electronics for your rig? The type of mounts you choose to protect your investment should be part of the decision-making process. No matter if you prefer 1, 2, or 3 graphs up front, Beatdown Outdoors has a solution for you. Adjustable, versatile, rigid, and made in the USA. What's your ultimate electronics setup? Check out the full selection of Beatdown Outdoors products by visiting beatdownoutdoors.com. All right, we are back. Final segment with the man, Mike Iaconelli. Are you pissed off at how 2022 went? Like, is this going to be a deal where you come out of the gates swinging? Because you had a weird year. You did really good in the derbies that had like 250 boats, and then not so great in the derbies that had 98.
Yeah, our theory is correct. On tournaments that are good, where the fish are biting, I stink. On tournaments that suck, like all the opens, I'm great. Our theory is correct. Wow, we're smart. No, I mean, I don't know. It's a weird question for me because I have mixed emotions. Mm-hmm. Am I pissed off? 100%, man. I am. You know me. We're very much. By the way, I don't want to throw you under the bus, but we're very much alike in some regards. And I won't even get into all the stories. There were some good stories from last year and the year before, but we're very much alike because we're competitive, man. Hey, if you're in this sport and you want to win and you want to succeed, you want to make the elites in the classic, dude, if you're not pissed off, there's something wrong with you. Get out. Go do golf like you were talking about. Do something else. So part of me, really pissed off when I look back at that season. I think that does drive you to do better. I joke with Becky about it. And one of the things in my career, I think anger and frustration has been good for me in my career. I say anger is a gift. She always hits me over top of the head, smacks me in the face or something. But there is something to be said about that. And I think for sure it's fresh on my mind. I want to do better. I think it's going to drive me harder to have a better year competitively in 23. But the other half, man, let me think of a good way. I don't want to say I don't give a shit because that's the wrong way to say it.
Perspective?
The other half is when I look at my career, man, I'm in my happy place. I've done everything I wanted to do. I'll just real quick while we're here. There's a couple there. That one might be a classic. That might be an angler of the year.
There's a kayak one there.
There's a couple over there. Look, man, I've done everything I ever wanted to do as a competitive angler. I've done. And then outside of fishing, this sport, it's taken me places dude, I get to travel. I get to design stuff with companies. I get to film fun TV stuff. Man, are you kidding me? Like, how could I be mad at having a bad tournament season when I've done everything I wanted to do? And I don't want to sound complacent. I don't want to sound totally satisfied because that's anti-competitive. But I'm pretty happy, man. I'm pretty happy. And all these offshoots, Ike Live and Bash U and Ike Foundation, man, I'm happy. This stuff is amazing. Life is not, especially after you achieve your goals, you have to have a little change of heart. And, it's bad for me if I dwell and live on the fact that I had a bad year every single moment. I had a bad year. I look at it. Yeah, I'm mad. I'm pissed off. I'm going to go out and work hard and do the same thing I did last year and hopefully have a better year. If it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, what are you going to do?
In 2023 and beyond, is there anybody who can make a living, not just have a good year, but make a living fishing? Or do you have to have multiple revenue streams if you want to have longevity at the top level of this game?
There are very few. It's a great question. And I hope right now, especially young anglers, high school, college level anglers, young adults, really put their ear to this podcast because there are very few. I would say 1 to 3% of all the anglers trying to do this have the talent and ability to only fish. That's it. And even those guys are smart enough to know that they should do other stuff. But for the other 87 or 97%, 98% of the anglers, 100% you have to have the wherewithal to create other businesses, to do other things, to promote, to market, to teach. If you don't, dude, you're going to, you're going to be just hurting your whole life financially. You're clawing your whole life. So I think it goes hand in hand. If you want to fish professionally, you have to accept the fact that there are other pieces to that job. And then it's just your work ethic and desire to how big do you want to make it? You have to have those elements in place, especially the marketing and promotion and that stuff. In this age, if you're not getting good at that, if you reject that, it's a mistake. It's a mistake.
I've always wanted to make this list. We're going to make it right now. The things that you have endorsed, sold, created, put on the market. I don't have it because Jeffrey's kept it, but I mean, we're talking back in the day, it's you in a blue Yamaha jersey with the belt draped down the side of your leg with the glasses. And it's the Mike Iaconelli Never Give Up cassette tape. You were marketing the cassette tape. Dude, you came out with like a memoir book like 3 years into your career. Like who does that? So, okay, let's come out with things like this. So we'll start with the best of them, the Iked Up energy drink. Are you good with this? Good with making this list? Unique things that you...
I love making the list. But let me just real quick, let me say that, I am a big believer in not just hustling and working, every day waking up and saying, what can I do? I'm a big believer in the hustle, but I'm also a big believer, Becky is too, in not being afraid to try stuff, throw it on the wall, some stick, some slide down very quickly. So I'm not afraid of either of those things. So go ahead, Matt, I'm ready.
All right, we got to start with the energy drink and the socks.
Okay. Yeah. Energy drink, 100%. I think energy drinks, there's a need for it in our sport, especially early days, long drives. So, to have an opportunity to put my brand to an energy drink, dude, that was the coolest thing in the world. I loved it. And it wasn't just, man, let's put an Ike logo on this drink. I actually, dude, it was so cool because we got to do like formulas and taste tests and packaging and all that. Dude,
I didn't realize that.
Oh, yeah. It was great. It was awesome. But what I learned is that in the beverage world, it's all about bottling and distribution. So to have an upstart energy drink company and you're competing with Monster and Red Bull, there's politics and money involved with that, just like anything else. So that was a tough one, but no regrets on that. And I wish Iked Up was still around. It was a good one. And it tasted great with vodka, by the way.
I had a bottle. I had a can. I've showed it to you before on the show.
Yeah.
It exploded 6 months ago. I came into the studio.
As a shelf
everything had Iked Up all over it.
Wow. Messy.
I was very disappointed. It lasted for like 5 or 6 years.
Ah, darn it. Yeah.
Or more than that. That was a long time ago.
Yeah, it was a good one. The socks, I think any apparel, makes sense for branding, makes sense, for us to get involved with. So, like we have a great relationship with AFCO. And, that was one that spawned where it was something that they didn't have a product that we were directly working with. So like a sock, and it was heavily tied to the foundation. So, anytime a licensing agreement or an endorsement pops up where the company says, we want to put your name on this, but we want to give back to the foundation, that made a lot of sense. So really cool project working with the socks. And we had a limited amount of socks that we came out with. And a lot of the income and revenue that was generated went right to kids fishing, and no regrets on that one either. There's a lot of apparel items that I'd like to consider. What about a man thong? Ike man thong.
Yeah.
With the logo strategically placed. Yeah. Banana hammock. A lot of good products we could do,
Yeah. I got in trouble the last time I talked about someone fishing in a banana hammock.
I can't get in trouble.
So do you remember the moment when you were like, dude, I need to write a book?
I remember the moment, and that one, I can't take 100% credit for. And there's a lot of, really cool opportunities that happened. One we're on right now. Why I'm here. Shout out to Mark Jeffries for convincing me to do Ike Live. By the way, Matt, we're our 10th year anniversary. I know you guys are way ahead of us, but our 10th year anniversary is this February. So not next show, but the show after, 10 years. But a lot of these cool opportunities I've had aren't things that I came up with. They're things that were approached, we got approached by. And that was one that happened, just came to me. And it was, after I won the Classic, it was that whole year was a blur. 2003 to 2004 was a blur. I've never had more opportunities placed in front of me after winning that tournament. ESPN owned bass. Media was going crazy about bass fishing for the first. It was an amazing 12 months, actually 24 months. But I had a book agent, a literary agent. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Approached me. Guy's name was Mark. Approached me about making a book, writing a book. And I was like, oh, yeah, a fishing book. Yeah, I've done fishing books. Because at that point, I actually already had a finesse fishing book that I wrote myself, done, in a notebook. He's like, a book? Oh, yeah. I've got a book ready. And I wrote no. We want to write a book we'd like to do a book about your life, about the sport, and I was like taken back, because I didn't even understand, like, really? Like, why? I'm like, I don't, but it was one of those things that we thought about it. And I'm so glad that I did it. It was a lot of hard work. I had 2 co-authors that wrote the project with me, a lot of work over the course of a year. But let me tell you that in that part of my life, you got to remember, I won the Classic, but I was also going through a divorce.
Yeah.
A lot of bad stuff going on in my life too. Matt, it was the most emotionally therapeutic thing I could ever have done, was to sit down and talk and be honest and let it out. I think especially for so many men, it's a very hard thing to do, is to let it out. And man, it was, gosh, it sort of saved me that year, those years there. So great project. We're still selling copies to this day. It's amazing. People are still buying the book. Pretty cool,
Great 12 or 13 part, maybe, docuseries that came out last year, once a week. I know we did like a Ike documentary a number of years ago after you'd won on the Delaware River, where Mark Jeffries came down, but this is a really good docuseries that came out on your YouTube channel. Each one's 12 to 18 minutes long, that goes through all of this stuff, talks about all this stuff. You really open up in it. That was a fantastic project that I think is a great legacy for you to open up and talk about it. Really well done on that one too. Like, just wanted to mention that. A lot of stuff you talked on here, you can go back and find the episode where you talk about that stage in your life.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was another one that, we had internally here. We had a conversation about. I didn't think about it. It was a guy working with us named Justin that said, let's do a documentary. Let's do a docuseries. And I said, well, I did a book. And he said, yeah, but this is a way to dive into it in more detail. And a lot has passed since you wrote the book. And I said, you know what? You're right. And I think it was, just like the book, it was a great way for me to let go of stuff and not let it eat me up. And, just to talk about it. It's very freeing, so thank you for saying that. And the original docuseries was a Mark Jeffries project. So shout out to Mark for that.
All right. You mentioned a couple years here, and I've always wanted to know this. So you win the Classic in 2003.
Yes.
Okay, this is the start of the boom. You win the Angler of the Year in 2006, which is the first year of the Elite Series.
Yes.
ESPN takes over Bass here. You have Bass Center. You have the ESPN outdoor blocks. You have team deals. You are in the mecca of this, Ike, from being the Classic champ with the personality. I just remember I've watched that show on how much Jerry McInnes is sitting there going, holy cow, this guy's going to make me a lot of money on the show when he talk. I mean, you could see it. Like, go back and watch the Bassmaster show from that Classic. He's like, we got someone who's outside the box, right? Like, he's seeing dollar signs with every, and then you win the Angler of the Year in 06. Like I mentioned, this time and time again, I hear of guys at your generation talk about that was the absolute heyday. And Mark even just mentioned it with Bass Zone 20 years ago, 20 years ago when he started, as far as both endemic, non-endemic companies, the backing on it. Like I said, I've never asked this if you don't. I don't know if there's a statute of limitations. That was like 20 years ago. What type of money are we talking about for that group of guys that was in there? I mean, I know there was one article that said $500,000, but I mean, are we talking like crazy money, like with all this stuff behind it for that 3 or 4 year period for the group of guys that were taking advantage of it like you?
You know, it was the heyday. And I really hope that as our sport grows, I hope that there's another heyday that is better coming. I really believe that hopefully that's on the horizon, but it was an amazing time. It was a time where if you wanted to work and hustle, there was a lot of opportunity. And that's the big thing I want to tell you. And, you know, it was like that year when I won the Classic in 2003, from 2003 to that same date, a year later in 2004, I was home in my own bed, I think 2 or 3 weeks, we counted. In a year's time, I only was home 2 or 3 weeks. So you're talking about, you know, less than 30 days I was at home. The rest of it was saying yes to media, saying yes to travel, saying yes to opportunities, saying, you know, and so that's the big thing, you know, and when you look at that group, and there might've been 5 guys, 6 guys that took advantage of it. They not only had a brand and were different, and, you know, people were gravitating toward them because they stood out. Those 4, 5, 6 guys were taking the opportunity, were seizing the moment. And I don't regret a moment of all those opportunities I took and saying yes, you know, because other guys didn't. And, you know, I don't want to throw Takahiro under the bus, but Tio won in 2004. Biggest classic win I've ever, dude, talk about exciting. That is the classic moment.
Oh, it's another big one. It's another big one. 3 casts on a crankbait with the Classic.
It's amazing. But I remember having a conversation like, he won. I'm out of my mind. It's another guy. It's different, young. I'm like, God, this sport is we're going worldwide. Japanese, yes. And I remember having an honest conversation with Takahiro and saying, man, there's these things and you got it. And, you know, like talking for 40 minutes. And he just stopped me and said, Mike, I just want to fish, you know, and that's cool. Like everyone should do what makes them happy. We're all different. And I totally understood, but he didn't take that opportunity, right? He just wanted to fish. So, you know, it was a great moment. From a money-making perspective, I can tell you this, you know, it's still a time when guys aren't making a lot of money. And here we are all these years later. How sad is that? How sad is that for the sport? But it was a time where you could make a decent living during those years. And, you know, exacts, I don't know. I bet you those 3, 5, 6 guys I was talking about, they were at least making 100,000 plus a year in sponsorships, clearing it, at least, if not more for some of those guys. And a lot of us then, I remember that I'm really going to go back. This is crazy secret talk now that probably never has been talked about before. And you can go back and research this. We had a meeting in Las Vegas. I'm not kidding you. This sounds so gangster. We had a meeting in Las Vegas, closed room meeting. It was me, Skeet, Swindle, Marty Stone, Byron Velvick, might have been one other guy, talking about, you know, how do we, as athletes, as participants, how do we up it, right? You know, how do we take our lives in our own control, and how do we get our careers to be big? And one of the things that was said is, man, if we're the top 5 guys in the sport on paper, you know, getting the coverage, you know, we should be making $1 million a year. We should be. Other athletes are. I remember being in that meeting saying that. And it never worked because, you know, at the end of the day, we all kind of had our own ideas on how we wanted to do that. It would have been great, but we all went our own ways. And those guys have all done extremely well. You know, they're all great anglers and great brands. But, you know, I remember theorizing that. And, you know, a lot of the guys got to that point. A lot of the guys are at the point where they're making $1 million a year. And that's amazing. That's unheard of. If you're in the top 10% of the sport, whether it's fishing, you know, through your fishing or through your brand, through your exposure, you should be making that, you know.
Has anyone ever signed $1 million contract? Not overall in bass fishing. Has there ever been a contract that is $1 million or more? And
you know, I don't know that for a fact without getting people's financials. You know, you never know. I would say that there have been $1 million deals over the course of a time period, right? Of, you know, let's call it, you know, 5 to 10 years or an angler's career, you know? So like, you know, and again, I'm not, I don't want to zero anybody out, but you know, Skeet's Wright and McGill deal, his rod and reel deal
is over. I'm talking about like a contract where it's like, hey, 3 years, $1 million.
I would venture to say there's never been a multi-year $1 million contract at face value. But if the angler worked and pushed and hustled, they have made $1 million off of one deal over the course of time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I mean, I don't want to sound like $1 million in the late 90s, early 2000s was a lot of money.
Yeah.
$1 million, 2023.
Still a lot of money, Ike.
It's still a lot of money, but it's not as much money when you look comparatively to other sports.
Yeah.
And what are,
but that's a value that they're bringing in, right? That's the eyeballs that you're putting on it. That's why, you know, guys, like I've had Brian Robinson on, you know, he's good with the Brian Robinson Foundation. You know him, and you know a bunch of professional athletes and stuff. But I mean, if you're bringing 50, 60 million into it, then it shows that your value. Like, I think that the payout is representative of it. And yeah, this is $1 billion industry, but when you get down to the nitty gritty, it's a small sport, right? Like that's what you've done really good on is taking little threads of outside.
Yeah.
And bringing it in and showing the glimpses. Like, I think the biggest thing that's happened to you in your career is being named the top 10 hated athletes in GQ. That was massive for you. I mean, they were massive. And then back then is right when Google and the internet and everything was big. So everyone reads the GQ and then they're like, I want to know why people hate a bass fisherman. And now you've got all the, I mean, like you said, your timing has been absolutely insane over the course of your entire career, Mike.
Yeah, I'd agree with all that. And I'd agree with, you know, what you said, like it's hard to compare fishing to football because of the advertising revenue. I'd agree with that at this moment in the sport. But, you know, with the sheer participants, you know, I think that the opportunities there. And the other thing I'm going to say, and I'm going to throw us all under the bus, including myself, is the anglers. And, you know, this is a whole nother show. And it sounds like it seems like I talk about this every other time we talk, but you know, we've thrown ourselves under the bus by not only not organizing collectively outside of the leagues, but by not taking responsibility for our value. And I'm lumping myself into that category, especially early in my career. I'm throwing myself under the bus too. We have not taken responsibility for our true value. And when you have guys, I'm not talking about guys that are coming up through the club leagues. I'm talking about when you have guys that are fishing the elites, first year, 5th year, 10th year, wrapping their boat for nothing, that's a problem. And it's our problem. It's not the league's problem. It's not the sponsor's problem. Sponsors are taking advantage of us. Yes. It's not their problem. It's our problem. It's our fault. And it's a shame. You know, it's a shame because we've devalued ourselves. We've devalued ourselves, right? You know, when a guy that's been fishing his whole career is doing a $1,000 a month deal and putting, you know, the logo on and this and that and promoting for $1,000 a month, and he's been fishing for 30 years. He's one of the biggest names in the sport. How the hell? What? we're shooting ourselves in the foot there, you know?
No, well,
that's a whole other show.
No, I know, yeah, different show. I greatly appreciate it. I will make sure Becky gets your appearance fee for BTL today. Anything else you want to get in here? What do you have coming up, going on before we get out of here? I know you got a busy day. I greatly appreciate the over hour of your time.
Yeah, no problem. Now, I would just, the last couple things I would definitely say we've got a couple like live shows coming up. The one in February, guys, please watch it. It's our 10th year anniversary. It's going to be a blowout. Rumor has it, Matt, you and Mark might even be on the show. I don't know.
Really?
But please look at that. And then the Ike Foundation. It's a big thing. It's one of the pieces that we do every day where we're trying to get kids to go fishing, especially kids that don't live in, Alabama, where you grow up fishing, right? City kids in different parts of the country don't normally fish. Head on over to ikefoundation.org. We got some cool stuff right now. You can help. Check that out. And thanks for having me on the show. And I'm going to leave you with this. 2 more little gems here, right here. That's a tea kettle, 1880s. It's actually opalescent milk glass. And here is a ship inkwell. Look at that unique shape, flattened ship. And that's Pontal, which brings it back to the 1850s. And that's all I have to say.
A man of many talents, Mike Iaconelli. Thank you for christening the new studio in Shawnee, Oklahoma.
Thanks, Matt. Appreciate it.
All right. See ya.
Have a good season.
Same to you.
Thank you very much. I will.
All right. That was the one and only Mike Iaconelli. He's good for the sport, man. He's done a lot for the sport. He barely touched on it there. He talked about organizing anglers, a voice for anglers, a lot of stuff behind the scenes, the non-endemics behind the scenes. Mentioned what he does with the Ike Foundation, and it's amazing he's able to find any time to fish at all. All right, take our final break of the show. When we come back, things that are coming down the pipeline for BTL, everything that's new, maybe a couple big announcements that we have coming up. BTL on a Monday, new show from Shawnee, Oklahoma. It's January 9th. We will be back with the final segment.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. 2 sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
All right, we are back wrapping things up for BTL on the first show in the new studio. Big shout out to Mike Iaconelli for taking the time to jump on. There's a very select group of people that you like go through their people to get them on the show. And I always like go through Ike's one of those guys. Like you got to go through Becky because she does like they run like a professional edge like fishing they got a lot going on anyway. So big shout out to Mike, able to get all that figured out. Yes, new studio. Hopefully you guys like it. I've still got there's going to be some additions. Let's just say like foliage. Like I would like to increase the amount of foliage in the studio. But fake foliage is extremely expensive. I don't know, like if you have a house full of like fake like high-end foliage, like your wife or significant other has spent some serious coin on it because it's like hundreds of dollars to get like fake trees. Anyway, I found some fake cattails that are 6.5 foot tall, but they're at a store where like half of the stuff's on sale for 50% one week and then half the stuff's on sale for 50% the other week. I found it when the cattails weren't on sale, so there will be cattails in the background. And then if you think there's something, if you're a listener, if you think you have something that is cool that belongs in the new BTL studio, like this is a work in progress right here, let me know, because I have a lot of listener stuff in the background. And Jeffries did. We have some baits that are here. We have like the Wheaties box. These are old spinner baits that a listener sent in. We've got some ghost pepper sauce. There's all sorts. Here's a pommy spinner bait, like just stuff that all sorts over the years that listeners and viewers have sent in. So if you think there's something that deserves to be in it, now I can't say that it'll end up in there, but yeah, it is a work in progress. All right. New apparel in the Basszone store, available on basszone.com under the shop BTL tab at the top of the page. A couple more t-shirts that were put in there. Still have some of the sweatshirts available, stickers, all that type of stuff. So and hats, different embroidered hats. The patch hats, these are embroidered hats, are the new ones are the embroidered hats. These are the patch hats. We're going to do patch hats later in the year. Uncle Frank's Day 4 stuff available on there as well. We'll dive into that with Uncle Frank on Thursday. So yes, Uncle Frank will be back on Thursday. Tomorrow, so I went through all the numbers. I got the numbers for all the BTLs for the year, and one of the most popular guests that we had on 3 times on BTL in 2022 was Matt Steffen. Matt Steffen, Major League Fishing Invitational Pro, perennial Cup qualifier when the Cup was around. And I really enjoy talking to the dude. Like I said, he worked in the Chicago Board of Exchange, had a desk job, quit it, does a YouTube, fishes full-time now up in Wisconsin. So I ran the idea past him, and he's going to come on once a quarter. So we'll have 4 shows with Matt Steffen in the new year. So he's going to come on tomorrow, and we might talk about some interesting stuff because I don't know how to say this. Matt Steffen and I have both seen things that don't exist. We'll leave it at that. I don't know if he wants to get into that. I told him, he said, we'll play it by ear, but Matt Steffen tomorrow. And then this is it the Dos Equis commercials, the most interesting man in the world? This dude, I promise you, like probably 75% of you haven't heard of him. If you're in the industry, this guy is a legend. He knows everybody in the industry. No one's really sure what he does. He's a man of mystery and intrigue, a former professional angler who now, Fred Kintawi, California's Fred Kintawi, is going to be on the show Wednesday. And this is going to be a show, like sometimes I hear people say, man, you don't interview guests that I don't know. Well, that's how you get to know the guests. Or like, I just wouldn't have like a random boring guy on. So Fred Kintawi on Wednesday, and then Uncle Frank comes back on Thursday. 2 new additions to the BTL sponsor lineup in 2022. And both of them are going to benefit the viewers and listeners. First of all, Omnia Fishing on board in 2022. We had Polish Pete. We had Trevor Lowe on at the end of 2022. Great feedback from that show. So they are going to come on in 2023. They also have statistics and numbers that I don't have access to as far as buying habits. That was one of the things that I talked with Polish Pete about, was like, hey, when someone catches a fish in the tournaments, when someone wins a tournament, can you see a direct correlation in sales? So we're going to utilize Omnia throughout the year to kind of put into perspective what is driving sales, have him on talk about the tips and trends throughout the year a couple of different times. And then also shoreline boat and RV repair. I know we all have questions. Hey, there's a nick in my 20-year-old boat. Do I have to worry about it delaminating, winterizing boats, getting out surface scratches? These guys have done a really good job since Todd's taken it over, of really catering to tournament bass anglers. I'm good friends with Brock Enmeyer. He's the GM of the Tulsa store. There's 3 locations: Tulsa, Kansas City, and Austin. And they do a really good job of taking care of bass anglers when something happens, to get them fixed and back on the water, done right. And then also a lot of RV repairs. So if you travel, if you do that, so we're going to have Brock on to talk about all those things as far as fiberglass boats. And we're also going to do 2 live shows from Shoreline. I think one in the Kansas City store and one in the Tulsa store. We're not that far away from getting back into the tournament season. There's less than a month before the MLF Invitationals kick off February 8th on Okeechobee. The BPT then kicks off February 13th on the Kissimmee chain. Then the Elite Series kicks off February 16th on Okeechobee, and the Opens kick off March 2nd in Eufaula, Alabama. The plan right now from Eufaula, Alabama is to be live from the Big Bite Baits headquarters right there in Eufaula, Alabama. If you've watched any of Brad Hallman's videos, any of our stuff, we kind of went there during the development, the design of the BFE bait. So plan is to be live from there with the mobile studio. Greatly appreciate all the viewers and listeners and feedback. Like I said, the new studio will just keep getting bigger and better. Comments, suggestions, ideas. Matt at basszone.com. Also increasing our social media footprint. There's going to be clips of the shows, upcoming guest things. That's going to be out on the Facebook page starting next week, and the Instagram page. So more updating there. And then I think we got a big announcement from Frank on Thursday about an opportunity that the viewers and listeners in the very near future might have to meet the man in person. So that's all we got for today on BTL. Like I said, tomorrow, Matt Steffen, and Wednesday, international. He is an international man of mystery. That would be none other than Fred Kantawi on Wednesday to close out the first show in the new studio. It wasn't perfect, but we got the job done. Also, Mark Jeffries, doing great. Talked to him. He's actually on a recruiting trip now. They're headed into the playoffs for the basketball team. Then it's full bore into the Southern Nazarene University bowling team as the head coach. We'll see everybody tomorrow. That's it. Later.